While I know most of you are probably sceptical about the title, I would not say that without proof of my claims. So sit back, enjoy and relax as I tell you about the connection between Elden Ring and Bloodborne and how Elden Ring might be a prequel to Bloodborne. There are a multitude of connections between Elden Ring and Bloodborne. One such example would be dreams. Now you might be thinking, there are no dreams in Elden Ring. Well, you'd be very, very mistaken. In the heart of the royal capital, beyond layers and layers of defence, lies a valiant gargoyle. This valiant gargoyle patrols and guards what seems like a building. This strange building, once we enter it, we find out is none other than the Round Table Hold. Why is there a copy of the Round Table Hold, some might ask? And my answer to that would be, this is not a copy. This is the original Round Table Hold. The Round Table Hold we know is merely a copy, a self-contained reality, a self-contained dream. In Bloodborne, a similar scenario occurs. Deep in the city of Yharnam, addicted to the blood of the Great Ones, who they were never meant to taste, lies a hunter's workshop. Now, to a normal Yharnamite, this hunter's workshop would just be an ordinary site of Yharnam, but to the hunters of the workshop and the hunters of the dream, this would be known as the hunter's dream. And we will get into why this was a dream in the first place. And like the Round Table Hold, this is not a copy, this is the original. And too, like the Round Table Hold, the hunter's dream is a lot more maintained and well looked after than its counterparts. But before we go any further, I want to explain how dreams are actually created. The dreams are created by beings called the Great Ones. The Great Ones are normally incomprehensible to any walker of flesh, except if you gain 40 plus insight, where you can now see the amygdalas and the multitude of Great Ones throughout Bloodborne. A Great One gathers its essence and creates a different realm, for these Great Ones work on a transcendental plane of thought, and they can at will create their own dreams. Of course, mere mortals and walkers of flesh cannot call upon this power and create such dreams without the help of such a Great One. There is no better example than Gehrman. Just to clarify, when I state umbilical cord, I mean a Great One's umbilical cord. Every Great One in Bloodborne yearns for a child, but this child always eventually dies. But the Great One still yearns for a child after its child's death, and then searches for a surrogate, usually impregnating walkers of flesh and mortals, who used the umbilical cord supposedly from the Orphan of Kos, another Great One, to call upon the moon presence, and we don't know what he asked for, but dialogue suggests that Gehrman was coaxed into doing this by Lawrence, the person who founded the Healing Church and a former student of Bergenworth. The part where I said I didn't know what Gehrman asked for was a semi-lie. While I don't know everything, I do know that Gehrman probably asked to be with his Maria again, for inside the hunter's workshop we find a doll which has an eerie resemblance to his former student Maria, who we know from item descriptions he was infatuated with. Only when the moon presence finally found a way to give this doll its own autonomy, Gehrman was unhappy, to say the least, to realise that this doll did not have the personality of Maria. A similar thing can be seen inside the Round Table Hold. A Round Table Hold member called Alberich, who is part of the Bloody Fingers, can be found dead inside the Round Table Hold, the original one, yet inside the Round Table Hold dream you can face him as an invader. Perhaps whatever Great One created this Round Table Hold dream also brought back to light this Alberich in a similar way to how the doll was given its own autonomy. It is almost 100% likely that the Great Ones from Bloodborne are the Outer Gods from Elden Ring, perhaps younger and more naive Great Ones who have not yet fully learned their potential. And actually, there is a Great One from Bloodborne that appears inside of Elden Ring's lore, and this would be none other than the Formless Mother, aka Formless Odin. Most of you are probably thinking, Gecko, you're wrong. Well, I'd respectfully disagree, as we know that both of these characters are the alternative to each other. One is a Great One and one is an Outer God. They are virtually the same thing, whether or not my theory is correct. On top of this, My second reason for believing this is the fact that, well, they're both formless, the only difference being that you stab the formless mother in the stomach to do blood sorceries. Perhaps a younger Odin simply lost this ability throughout its life, and, well, when we come to him in Bloodborne, he doesn't have this ability anymore. Something you probably think about is gender. One's a mother and one's a he. I'd like to remind you that these are incomprehensible beings and their power is beyond comprehension itself, and I doubt that it'd be very hard for it to change its gender. Finally, going back to Elden Ring, we are going to be answering who created the Round Table Hold dream. I believe it was none other than Marika herself. We don't know much about Marika's childhood, except she was born in the land of Numen outside the lands between. What if she was born from a womb that was blessed by an outer god, as they are called in this land? What if she is the child, the surrogate of a great one? And just to clarify, surrogates can birth dreams. A great example would be Murga the Stillborn, who was used by the School of Mensis to create the Nightmare of Mensis. This would give her the power to create her own dream, and I can think of no one better than Marika herself, for the Round Table Hold is designed to craft a fine and strong and worthy spouse ready for the title of Elden Lord. It makes complete sense that she'd use her heritage to her advantage. And so Queen Marika the Eternal, a surrogate of a great one, birthed the Round Table Hold dream to hold the Tarnished. In Elden Ring, you can find the Plague of the Beasts. You might be thinking, what? How have I never found this? Well, the reason is because it's a little different, but it's still very, very noticeable if you look. It is none other than the Scarlet Rot. We learn in the Scorpion Stinger dagger that the Scarlet Rot is indeed a sealed outer god. And you might be thinking, why is the Scarlet Rot the Plague of the Beast? Well, I'd like you to look at what happens to those infected by the Scarlet Rot. Firstly, they start getting a cold, they start getting sick, ill, debilitated, out of nowhere almost. Of course, there is a reason, but any normal citizen of either the Lands Between or Yharnamite wouldn't have any knowledge of this. And then eventually, the wall between inner beasthood and man and blood breaks, and they mix, becoming nothing more than a rabid beast, which I would like to guide you to Radahn, who, after being infected with the Malenia's Scarlet Rot, becomes nothing more than a rabid dog. This is also seen in other people who are affected by the Scarlet Rot, not to the same extent. Maybe the reason why it was so extreme with Radahn, even in this early stage of infection of the worlds, was the fact that he was a surrogate Great One. Perhaps that's the reason why it was so intense. Obviously it's still bad for other people, but I feel like the effects were amplified due to his strength and heritage. And while not all that fell to the infection became rabid like Radahn, they all did lose themselves to beasthood and lost their mind. Perhaps this sort of less aggressive strain of the Plague of Beasts was around before the age of the Thumerians, which lie below the town of Yharnam. If this is actually the case, then this is one of the first looks we have at the start of the Plague of Beasts, which really adds so much to Bloodborne's lore. The strange pillars inside the Hunter's Dream have plagued people's minds for years, including my own. Ever since I first saw them, I was confused and befuddled, if that's a word, I think it is, by these pillars. But now I think we finally have the answer to them. In the Elden Beast boss fight, we are transported to a realm which I believe to be a dream. Who created this dream? I do not know, but I believe it to be either the Greater Will or the Elden Beast itself. If it was the Elden Beast, then perhaps the Elden Beast is a surrogate itself, allowing it to birth new realms. In this dream, we find massive pillars spiking up into the air. These pillars are almost identical to the ones located in the Hunter's Dream. Even the arch trees, which was previously theorised to be the Hunter's Dream pillar equivalent, was not as identical as this. While they're not all the same shape as the one in the Hunter's Dream, they all have the same textures. And while I don't have the software or the technology to compare the models, I'm almost 100% sure if I did, I would find out that even the large ones, when scaled down to the same size in Bloodborne, would match identically to the ones located in the Hunter's Dream. In previous times, the armour found deep inside the Child's dungeons were thought to be either from the Dark Souls universe, Lordran, or from Boletaria, since in the network test of Bloodborne, Gascoigne speaks the word Umbaso, which is from Demon Souls. But with the discoveries we found in today's video, I believe this armour was from the lands between, a remnant of a bygone age long past, a remnant of an age where gods and man walked alongside the other, an age of the Elden Ring. Another thing I wanted to say is that when you burn the Erd tree, it burns the Round Table Halt, something that is very similar to what happens at the end of your journey in Bloodborne. Another fun connection that I think is very, very important. Sadly, that concludes our theory. I hope I have convinced you somewhat that this is the case, as I truly believe that Elden Ring and Bloodborne share a connected universe. If you have enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe. If you didn't, a dislike would also be appreciated, and any sort of feedback means the world to me. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and may you all find your worth in the waking world. Goodbye everyone, hopefully see you in the next one.